Right, everyone, we're back, and as you can tell, this is a very different episode. It's a curtain raiser for the T20 World Cup. And had you forgotten that the T20 World Cup is about to start in less than 24 hours, we wouldn't blame you. Because right now, as we speak, there seems to be no hype around the world. And I, I mean, we don't want to start on a negative note, but we hope things pick up soon. Alvi Arhamar Bhai, welcome to today's episode of The Curtain Raiser. And Alvi, let's start with you. The lack of hype. Anything you want to
I
talk
think
about?
we're having too many World Cups in quick succession. We've got an ICC event every year. We've got ODI. We had an ODI World Cup, I think, 6, 7 months ago. We've got one now. We've got a Champions Trophy in, I think, about a year's time. So if you've got an ICC event every year within, let's say, 7 to 8 months of each other, there is nothing to look forward to because back in the day we had to wait 4 years for a World Cup or even 2 years for a T20 and then an ODI World Cup. But now, if you're getting one every year, it loses its value. I know ICC is trying to capitalize on the ad revenue or like the commercial aspect of a World Cup, but there was basically virtually zero hype for the ODI World Cup last year up until let's say the end maybe even now, and especially the World Cup being in a non-cricket playing nation, who we've lost to, um, yeah, there isn't much interest going forward.
Arhamar Bhai, the decision to, expand, to bring it to US in the name of expanding the game when in reality it's just to, increase the price of tickets in New York. Your thoughts on that?
Now we actually in US there are so many for or you can say so many outreach people. Like you can see there is Indian, Pakistan, Sri Lankans, Bangladesh. All are retired. Doesn't have anything to show, anything to introduce themselves. So that's why I see thought why not introduce cricket in USA and show it like it's an event for those overseas people like those NRIs, the NRBs to show them they have something to grab on. They got some culture of sports. Otherwise, no one gonna participate on a baseball game or whatever they have, like whatever they got. So like NBA or something. They even introduce NBA trophy in some World Cup matches. Like it's kind of weird that you could see a World Cup trophy including NBA trophy. Whereas World Cup is the international event and the NBA is some sort of domestic event. It's kind of it's kind of getting a reach, but I don't think it's gonna work for a long time. Just like global T20 and those MLS events.
Now, isn't it kind of a weird case where they're trying to bring two worlds together when those two worlds have nothing in common? That's the problem they're facing.
Many are saying it's like 1992 FIFA World Cup when there was no hype in US. Like people doesn't give a fuck.
94, I think
Like
that was.
92, 94, like those World Cups. Like people doesn't
94.
give a fuck. What's happening? Whatever happening? That's doesn't care.
Exactly, it's like
So
if you Anna, you can finish. Go ahead.
actually, people doesn't care. Some journalists were there in the airport that doesn't didn't see any sort of banner or poster or anything. Like if they asked some workers over there airport, they were like, "World Cup? Is there any World Cup? World Cup isn't World Cup next year? Why are you asking me that?" Like they're kind of shocked. There was some sort of shock reaction. So I don't feel like this World Cup does work anyway unless there are some hype between those NRBs and NRIs. That's it. Nothing much. I don't feel nothing much gonna happen.
It's the same. It's virtually the same as if you're hosting let's call it a baseball World Series in Bangladesh. You're gonna have zero turnout. Nobody, there's a funny stat in Bangladesh every year. There's about 3,000 baseball bats sold and less than 30 baseballs sold. And that's going on a different tangent, but it's the same. I mean, nobody cares about baseball in Bangladesh. It's the same for cricket in the US.
Now, Avi, let's compare to a different country now. We know the hype cricket gets in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Australia is a cricketing nation, but they don't get the same hype when it comes to cricket, even though they are the most successful cricketing
No,
nation.
even though,
How would you
even
compare? No,
Rakibul
Arma Bhai,
bhai,
go on.
there's one more thing in Australia. They they don't have much more hype than us, like us, where there's nothing such severity. But I feel like in Australia, they truly hosted the event. Like last T20 World Cup, even 2015 Cricket World Cup, it was such a nice event. Like it does give you some sort of nostalgia, like 2015 World Cup. Even the Bangladesh did well in those quarterfinals, but still, it gives you some sort of nostalgia. Like Australia New Zealand match, South Africa New Zealand match. It was such a properly hosted cricketing event. But in this time, I feel like there's some sort of hurricane issue, tornado issues. These are going on. It's kind of feeling some sort of mismatch for a cricketing purpose.
No, ICC
Now,
sort of they
that's
have.
my specific question to you. You were there, of course, being in Australia, you were there for all of the 2022 T20 World Cup. How would you compare the hype then and there in Australia at that time?
I think we're as being a Bangladeshi cricket fan, you're spoiled for choice because you've seen what the hype could possibly be when you go to Mirpur, and then when you see the hype here, it's very underwhelming. Yes, there is something there, but then you look at the sort of you go to Mirpur during a World Cup, the seats are full, even the streets outside are filled with people. Here, if you go to a World Cup, yes, you will see a considerable amount of crowd, but I would say even I would disagree with Ahmed Bhai. Leading up to the venue, you wouldn't see that much of I would say arrangements per se because the World Cup is only confined to the venues itself. If you go outside the venue, let's say even in the city, you know, what do you see in Bangladesh? If there's a World Cup, the whole country is sort of there's a festive mood as bad as we are. But here, it's I think it's because they've won everything multiple times. There's nothing left for them to achieve. So the people in general have moved way past cricket. People here now are they're more concerned with Australian rules football, AFL or footy or whatever. So if you see the footy crowds for a domestic league, you see how can I explain? It's the Mirpur vibe that we get. You see that here. You cannot see a speck of pavement leading up to a stadium for a footy game because it's crowded all the way from the station to the gates. Everywhere on the street is full. You see guys rocking their merch, their attire, the jerseys, the fan jackets, the mufflers, everything. So you don't get that for cricket here anymore because they've won everything. That's what I feel. But if you go, but the people here, at least they'll know and acknowledge there's the World Cup going on. People will show up for the big games. Let's say Australia, England, New Zealand games. People will show up. I'd say the purists will show up, even those who sort of laugh at, who laugh at T20 cricket. But in the USA, your only target group is, I'd say, the expats. That's all.
I remember again a lot of talk about the US, but they're also not the main co-hosts, if you will. The main hosts are still West Indies.
Swallow State, this cricketing culture is kinda dull. I feel like
And
since
it's dying. It's very rapidly dying still.
no one does care. Everyone likes some sort of gymnastics or athletics, this sort of sports. They don't even care about those sports, not anymore. Since they even West Indies won World Cup twice, T20 World Cup twice, still they don't have such hype like us or like if you hosted World Cup in South Africa, you could see much more better hype out there. You could host a World Cup in other nations, but you could say at least there's such hype. But in West Indies, there's no such hype. Whole galleries are empty. There's no such people who's waiting for us like that. It's kind of dull work. It's kind of dully participate World Cup. I feel like.
I think it's a very good example that you brought South Africa into the discussion because, as Alvi was saying, being a nation that has won everything, Australia sometimes does lose that interest, but South Africa hasn't. They always come with the belief that this time maybe something different will happen. They're always in contention but never winning. It's the same with New Zealand. Like I've seen a lot of people talk about it in different platforms about how cricket is really picking up in New Zealand. It's now basically the summer sport with rugby being the winter sport to the point where it's actually competing with rugby, something that never happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that's a very positive change in that sense. And we really hope that ICC actually capitalizes on that rather than, trying this cash cow that is the US. Anyways, all that aside,
If
another
if
change, Amar bhai,
ICC
yeah, go
if
on.
ICC had a chance, they would go for UAE and Oman once more. Like they
Once more.
love those places.
100%. This is a very good point.
They love those
Alvin,
places.
your
Like
thoughts on that?
Look, I think if you're going to UAE, Oman, these places, even if you're going to the US, personally, I think you're sort of looking at the same group of people, end of the day, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi. Um, so, end of the day, if it's us who are watching the game, doesn't really matter where you're hosting the tournament. If you go to Oman, yes, there's a bigger population of us there, but you can't really charge prices that high. But if you go to the US, you can hike them up as high as you like. Even as high as you hike them, end of the day, you're only going to get crowds for Bangladesh games, India games, Pakistan games. That's it. Nobody's going to watch Uganda play Afghanistan. Nobody's going to watch. Nobody's even. You know what? Nobody. I wouldn't even expect a full ground for Australia versus England in the US. But hey, I mean, if they think they can make up their money off of one game, it sort of defeats the whole purpose. But at least they're trying. I'd give them the benefit of the doubt because they've got 20 teams this year. So yes, they are going for the sort of cash cow model, but they're also trying to expand. So I think you got to give them props for that.
Amar bhai, that's the topic we were going to come to. It's a big jump to go from this, pre-tournament qualifiers and whatnot for the associate nations all the way to this 20-team four-group format. It's a big step. Do you think it's the right step, and do you think that this is something that we can actually see going forward, more and more associate teams coming into the World Cup?
I feel like this World Cup is kind of stressed. Like it should there should be nearly four teams off. Like you can't see Uganda to be played there. Like it's kind of hard approach to get associates on cricket. Like you can see those teams that doesn't have that much ability to compete in this sort of tournament. Or even you can see PNG, Papua New Guinea, and others. They don't have that much ability to compete in global stage to have such dull game. Like you can see India Pakistan versus Canada, India Pakistan versus USA. Even though we lost against them, still those matches gonna be as some sort of one-sided match, one dead rubber match. So kind of there's no such competition gonna be there. But I feel like it somehow demoralized our ICC's mottos also. If you ask me at 6:30 p.m. I won't watch. 6:30 a.m. I wouldn't watch those games. Like in the like those opening match, it's gonna be 6:30. It's kind of weird for us, for Asian people, to wake up at that much early in the Sunday morning to watch some sort of two association participating on an opening match. It should have been there should be some sort of thought. Either sell it or keep it some way that it keeps you entertaining. Else it gonna be somehow gonna be discharged in next few years. Like IC doesn't like to have some sort of game which doesn't give you revenue or else.
For these associate games, Alvi, do you think it's a good step to, have those programs with different schools and academies where you bring the young fans in for free or something like that, just to keep
Exactly.
it
I
engaging?
was just about to say that. I was literally about to say, for the games which are sort of not going to pull in the big crowds, make them free. That's where your marketing really comes in. It has to be at a time which is best for the people who live there and for the people who are going to watch potentially, if at all. You can't have a game, suitable for US time, and then you don't have enough people watching it overseas, because end of the day, you're going to make most of your money on these games off of ad revenue, not off of actual, stadium attendance. Um, and then you could also sort of ramp up, like you said, bringing in schools, academies, having events associated around the venue for the events. Um, but then again, ICC is sort of, we see that with the Big Bash. We used to see that with the Big Bash a couple of years ago when the Big Bash was still relevant. People used to actually watch the Big Bash. Now it's just a glorified, unique, I'd say like more of a premier grade cricket. just glorified and called the Big Bash. So you really don't see the spin-off events around the actual stadium anymore. But if you want people to sort of show up for the games or even watch the games, you need to have things to pull the crowds as opposed to just saying, "Oh, the home team is playing, come watch." No, nobody's gonna care for the U.S. team when they were born in Pakistan or India.
So I remember that's sort
Actually,
of a step tomorrow for the opening game.
actually, who do you offer those free tickets? Like no
Academies.
one gonna
There are a lot of cricket
give.
academies around New York.
There are a lot of cricket average. Do they like to come to watch those games?
Free. If it's free, they
You've got to
will.
go. Like I said, that's where your marketing comes in. You sort of you give your sponsors tickets, you give your affiliates tickets. Because I know in Bangladesh, sponsored tickets are sort of they're like a funnel to the public, general public, end of the day. But if you go to the actual sponsors who are US based sponsors or who want to take up an interest in cricket and they might be hoping to sponsor in the future or they might be looking to invest in the future, you have to look out and reach out to these guys. That's why you have to have a marketing team. For example, let's say there's a chain of let's call it uh, like basically training centers. Let's call it training centers where you have lanes for nets, bowling machines, whatever, and there's sort of infrastructure for cricket in the US or wherever in the world. So if you've got a company like this who has a couple showrooms or warehouses where they have the nets and they're looking to invest, you reach out, you say, "Hey, look, we've got a tournament coming up. Would you like to be a part of this?" And when you bring them, you bring in their players, you bring in their attendees. And then that sort of grows the network where they could invest in the game, but they also know there's a future for the game. So that's where ICC really has to go, knocking on the doors and go like, "Look, we want to do this. We want to grow the game. Would you like to be a part of it?" As opposed to just moving the whole tournament to a place where they think if they do a tournament, they can inspire kids to sort of look at. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think kids are gonna go from watching basketball to cricket and switch over in overnight.
Do you also not feel that ICC is a little too proud to make that first move?
Of course they are, and they should be. But that's where the sort of mentality comes in. Do you want to grow the sport, or do you want to stand there with your ego?
Bhai, what do you think will be the biggest, other than money, of course, what do you think will be some of the biggest takeaways for ICC from this tournament, given that it's a pretty bold experiment, no matter how we look at it?
It's, it actually looks like a World Cup. That's the thing. That there are so many teams. Otherwise, we could see only 10 teams participating, or 5 teams from Asia, 2 teams, or nearly 2, 3 teams from other nations. That's it. So it was such a confined event. But this time we could see much more variation, much more outsider teams like Uganda, like we could say Nepal. So it's kind of variations type tournament. But I feel like end of the day, these tournaments needs to be held. Otherwise, these nations won't give you such. They would come, they would show some magic and this and that. That's not gonna happen in a single day. You need to give them some time, proper attitude, and this and that. I don't think I say has ever did that at earlier teams like Kenya and others when they hosted those World Cup events like in 2003, 2007. It was early. Somehow India Pakistan goes out early, so I see thought chop of this, give them such a chance to qualify for the semis or other main event, so that we can earn as much as we can. I think that's where the cricket main game will begin.
2007, this is why 2007 World Cup was such a game changer. India and Pakistan getting knocked out in the first round. The
First
India
one,
Pakistan
then
game becoming a Bangladesh Ireland game all of a sudden. That made a big difference in the end.
it's like you could see the full crowd over there, but now you can just see some people who managed to buy those tickets in earlier events. That's it. Like they're somehow forced to watch those games.
Let's briefly get into some of the non-associate, I mean the full member nations now. We have spoken about the associate nations, and I think we have Mushfiq Ahmed commenting from New York. Expectations from Riyasat Azim in this year's World Cup. Ahmad Bhai, has he been relatively quiet this time? Would you say?
Actually, there's not much chance to get relevant this year. I think after World Cup, he might get again relevant. There are going to be some protests from his YouTube channel or his places. Like, yeah, it's Shanto's fault.
How
It's
stupid
Mahmudullah's
was
fault.
that whole? How stupid was that
The
whole
Nasum
Fortune
thing.
Borishal thing?
That's something. Yeah.
Nasum thing and
Why there is
Fortune
Nasum.
no
Borishal thing.
Taijul? Why there
No
is no
Taijul.
Taijul? Like
So
why?
random.
Why there is no
There is
Afif?
literally Sombho Sarkar and Mahamadullah right there. They're literally right there. But no, apparently Fortune Borishal players don't get selected. That's why Miraj didn't get selected. I mean,
There's no Saifuddin
But
down there.
but Miraj is sort of being kept, prepared to the World Cup if he's required. Um, but yeah, I mean, what Mushfiq Ahmed is like Riyad Azim himself, so it's no different.
okay, let me take Farzan Kibriy's question. I actually have an interesting answer for this. A, Ashwin could, on one hand, of course, Ashwin could have made a mistake, but B, I want to look at it differently. Is he wrong in a sense that ICC technically do treat Ireland very much as an associate nation still, even though they've been given the test status and even though they do play a test match every now and then, they pretty much are treated like an associate nation. And B, does it have to be an insult given that as an associate nation they've come to World Cups, they've beaten South Africa, they've beat sorry, not South Africa, they've beaten Pakistan and knocked them out.
Pakistan,
They beat Bangladesh. They beat England. They beat West Indies.
the
All
West
of these
Indies.
achievements came at a time when they were associate nation. So
The
in
only
that
people
sense,
who don't treat them like associates, the only people who put them on a pedestal are us, Bangladesh cricket. We make Zimbabwe, Ireland, even USA look like they're South Africa, England, and Australia. So hey, you gotta respect everybody.
I was looking for my flag to to show that moment of pride, but I couldn't find it. It is what it is.
Actually,
So
Ireland
ICC won
doesn't.
globalization. Imon Bhai, I think this is the first time that they are technically trying, so I can give them props for that.
But is it trying or is it an eyewash? Are they pretending to try?
Even the pretense is a form of trying at this point, better than what they usually do, right? Better than a 10-team World Cup, I suppose.
I guess, yeah, you can get that. But are we gonna see this in an ODI World Cup anytime soon?
No,
A
no, no,
20
and
team.
not anytime soon. It would be pretty much
They
costly for
shouldn't be.
ICC.
No, no, they shouldn't be. It doesn't make sense. They have to earn their way into it, right? You can't just give them free tickets in an ODI World Cup.
Even if
You
we
can
have an
Mr.
ODI World Cup 5 years from now.
Yeah,
God
it's one
knows
of those
there will
things
be
which
another
time will
World
tell.
Cup.
Like the ODI World Cup last year, if we talk about it now, it's not relevant right now, but if we talk about it
Mhm.
now, there were a lot of disappointing things about it last year, even though India were hosting it, the so-called country that, sorry, not the so-called country, the country that treats cricket like a so-called religion of sorts, and we saw
Only
the
if it's
results.
the
It's kind of
IPL.
disappointing.
No one cares.
Yeah, because it
No one
wasn't the
cares for
IPL.
ODI World Cup. Like they like to see some sort of IPL like of sort of event, shorter gameplay, everything over. That's it. It's finished.
That's
There's
actually a very good point. Now, and I wanted to bring the IPL into the discussion. Do you guys feel that the IPL is kind of impacting the lack of hype of this T20 World Cup, given that it ended 5 days ago and the fans are kind of fatigued after a 2-month tournament? So are the players, obviously.
It could
I.
very well be.
It's kind of overkill. I feel like it's kind of overkill. Like you are watching T20 game all throughout the year. It's really tiresome for anyone. Like every day there was T20, like each and every day. Then suddenly there was 10 to 15 days gap. Again, there's T20 each and every day, like 2 3 matches each day, which is
I'd
kind
love
of
to have a test series right now, man. I would absolutely love it. Detox. That's how I see it.
Why don't we just here's an idea to play the IPL teams in a test format. Why not?
It's not impossible, technically. Yeah, I can see it.
India doesn't care
Abhishek
about Test
Sharma
cricket
and
right now,
Travis Head scoring
unless
900 runs on day one. I can see it.
Actually, India doesn't like to have Test cricket anymore. They don't even like to host Ranji Trophy like does it previous years. They now does like to get into those T20 paddles. Like there should be all regional tournament in T20, like Assam T20 tournament, Bengal T20 tournament. So there's so much money down there, so much sponsors. That's it. In Ranji Trophy, there is no such audience. Hardly anyone watch it. Hardly anyone follows it. So India doesn't even care. India doesn't even take the test side from those IPL teams. Like you can see Rajat Patidar, Dhruv Jurel, all are getting into those test tracks just because they perform in IPL. I feel like IPL is some sort of their benchmark.
But the whole thing is, it's true. Like, Virat Kohli has gone out of his way. When he was captain back in 2017, he actually went out of his way to say that only five cities in India provide a proper test audience. Other than that, there's no meaning in having test cricket in India outside those five cities, which is very disappointing if you think about it. IPL works everywhere. You would think that, test cricket would be successful outside at least five cities, at least maybe 10, 11, 12, 15 cities. But no, only five, according to him. So that is very disappointing in India's perspective. But talking more about India, we're going to talk a lot more about India tomorrow. But a bit more about India. Amar bhai, do
Rian
you
Parag.
feel that it's kind of bad that after a 2 month long tournament where most of them played separately against each other, they now have to play with each other with little to no practice in between?
Actually, they're much more professional cricketers these days. They play all together as tournament like each and everywhere. Even the Indians doesn't play all over, but the Pakistanis, West Indies people, West Indies players, and they play all over the place. So I don't think doesn't gonna hurt much, unless there was some sort of rivalry between Rohit and Hardik Pandya these days.
Then even the IPL doesn't come into play because they were playing together. Technically, they were playing together. Mumbai Indians can claim that. We brought them together. It didn't work. Alvi, a
There
bit
was
more off topic, but no Captain's Day.
there's
Let's
no
be
opening
honest.
ceremony down there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But
There's
I
no
wasn't
opening
gonna
ceremony. So
speak
what?
about the
How could
opening
no captain
ceremony.
go?
I wasn't gonna speak about the opening ceremony, but with regards to the Captain's Day, cricket now has become so regulated and everything is so censored. Even if you do have a Captain's Day, the captains have to speak, they have to follow guidelines a lot. You don't really see captains coming out and saying things that the public would like to hear. It's always saying things that they're allowed to say. And if you look at guys like Sarfaraz, who was captain a couple of years ago, his answer was, "Oh, whatever he said, it's the same
Whatever
thing."
he said,
Yeah.
relatable.
For guys like Shakib and Shanto, you know what they're gonna say. We want to play good cricket. We want you guys to support us regardless. You know what India is gonna say. We're here to win. So I mean, look, you know what they're gonna say at the captain's day. They're gonna take a selfie. They're gonna talk some crap. It doesn't really add anything. I'll be honest. I know it's a formality. I would much rather an opening ceremony, or even like an opening dinner or a gala or something. Just Captain's Day is very. It seems very pretentious to me, especially the one we had. I think for the last World Cup,
ODI
and
one?
you see the yeah, the ODI ones, and you
It
see
was very bad. Yeah,
the
yeah.
the journalists asking irrelevant questions. The journalists don't even they don't do their homework. It's just very boring. It's trash. It's garbage.
We need controversy, like Riya
Yeah,
Sadaji.
exactly. There you go.
We need to sell it, man. We need to sell it.
I thought I see. Imon bhai, IPL was the opening ceremony.
Opening ceremony.
That was the opening ceremony. You had Shah Rukh Khan, you had Preeti Zinta, you had all these big names. Oh, what else do you need? That was the
You
opening
had Sara
ceremony.
Ali Khan, Ananya Pandey, Suhana
Don't
Khan,
ask
Janvi
about
Kapoor.
Ryan Parag's search history.
Riyan Parag.
Anyways, coming back to topic, I wanted to skip Bangladesh for tomorrow because we're going to talk about it a lot more. Do tune into our Facebook page. We're going to have the live over there just before the match. Uh, let's talk about some of the other teams. Armor Bhai, England, Australia in the same group. This
Pakistan,
T20
India,
Ashes,
same group. Like
Bangladesh, Sri Lanka,
Canada,
same
USA,
group.
Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the
Canada,
biggest
USA,
rivalries
same
right
group.
there.
Canada, USA, same group.
Canada, US, same group.
Like,
Netherlands, South Africa.
South Africa, I was gonna say
same.
this. That's
Yeah,
bigger
like
than the Ashes now.
I felt like this league, this round table, these tables are kind of rigged. Like
They
they
are. What do you
somehow
mean you
manage
think? They absolutely are. What do you mean you think?
actual. There's some sort of pretentious. Like they somehow try to give them some separate space, but somehow they come together.
Look, when your script writer is Jay Shah, anything can happen. If you can dream it, they can make it happen.
But if you two could quickly go over what you think England and Australia's chances are, like how do you see
By the
their
way,
chances?
Bangladesh,
We have
Netherlands
done it
are in
for
the same group.
same group, yeah.
Bangladesh, yeah.
Netherlands are too good to
Well,
consider us as rivals right now. They did just defeat Sri Lanka, so you never know.
Look,
they
we've
do
even
have
lost.
better jersey than
We've
us.
lost. We've no, and the jersey actually nice. It's actually nice this time.
I
It's
like this.
okay.
I like this shade of green more, to be honest.
But look, we've lost to Hong Kong. We've lost to USA. So even Nepal
We
for us
lost to
is an
Scotland.
uphill challenge. Scotland, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they've defeated England sometime in the past.
That's back in
But
2018, but yeah, sure, whatever.
We
yeah,
lost to Ireland also. So no worries.
yeah. Who are we yet to lose to? Who have we not lost to yet?
PNG,
We are Nepal.
Nepal.
Nepal
Okay.
gonna be.
PNG, Nepal,
They should have put
Uganda.
us in the group. They should have put us in the group with those guys: Nepal, PNG,
No, we
Uganda.
have
We have
Nepal in our group. We have Nepal in our
I
group.
mean, like we should have instead of all the big teams like Sri Lanka and Netherlands, we should have had the smaller teams.
We are the smallest team, my guy.
Exactly.
That's why we're skipping Bangladesh for now. We're going to England, Australia. Talk about their chances. Forget Bangladesh for now.
I think Australia is going through to the top four. England are gonna crash and burn like last World Cup.
No, but last World Cup is the last ODI World Cup. We
Yeah,
now
yeah.
have to clarify these things because they won the
Sorry, my
last
bad.
T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
Hammer Bhai, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's gonna be same because those are four big teams. They like hypes, so there are gonna be some four big teams gonna be there. There might be India and Pakistan out there also.
No
So that we
Pakistan. They've got people like Azam Khan and Sam Ayub. So I don't see Pakistan
No,
going through.
I won't be surprised. Again, Pakistan, I won't be surprised if they make it to the finals. I'll be even less surprised, and I'm being honest here. You could, you know, don't take this out of context, but I'm being honest here. I'll be very not surprised if Pakistan don't actually make it past the group stage. If they don't make it to the Super 8, I won't be surprised because of their
Same.
form, because of the
They've
squad they've
got
selected.
they've got Ireland in their group. They've got India. Who else have they
Mo-
got?
They're almost certainly going to lose to India. Like that's a given at this point. I'm
For
sorry.
sure.
I know
For sure.
2021 happened, but it's a given at this point.
Yeah, that was
They've
four
got
years ago.
US, they've got Ireland. Both of them are playing very good cricket.
They could
They've got
very well
Canada,
lose to
who have
both
their
of
own
these
problems,
teams.
and no one expects anything from Canada. But US and what do you call that? Ireland, they can pull off a
So
surprise.
who's going through? Who's going through? Is US going through or is Ireland going through? What do you think?
My money might be. I'm not a betting man. Astaghfirullah, betting is haram. Hamar Mahadin. But my
Ar
money
Haram,
would
Ar
be
Haram
on
Er Mahadin.
the US, if I'm being
I'd
honest.
go Ireland. I'd go Ireland easy.
They're both
Gary
doing
Kristen
very
should
well.
have some
Don't be
speed
surprised.
dial ready right now.
And however, Mahadin Bhai is betting on both.
Nah, not
He is
more.
betting on
I'll bet
Canada.
on.
He's
Nah,
bringing Harsh Thakur back for that game. Don't worry.
Nastad
He's
bin
betting
Jafar.
on he's betting on Canada to lose everything and make all his money back. I think we've lost
Nikhil
to
Datta
Canada as
was
well,
there.
yeah? We've lost to
Nikhil
Canada
Datta's
as
No, we
just
well.
lost to
skipped
get
over.
in 2003 World Cup before Eid. Just before Eid. We lost to Canada.
And then that Eid loss to New Zealand in 2019.
Team.
Mushfiqur Rahim blunder.
That was the
Thunder.
worst. That was the
I haven't emotionally recovered from that,
2019
to
had
be
so
honest.
much potential. 2019 had so much potential, and then you shit the bed.
Honestly, you know what? Sometimes I even feel like when we're watching 2023 or like, the current 2024 World Cup, I feel like, going back to that 2019 World Cup and being disappointed by underachieving rather than looking at this team and saying whatever they do, even if they lose to Nepal, it's not underachieving anymore. It's
Yeah,
how they are right
they the bar is not low. The bar is now non-existent.
now.
They can do whatever
Non-existent,
they like, and
exactly.
we won't be surprised.
And the bar was actually high back then, which again, I miss that
All for one
honestly.
man. All for one man.
Rahman bhai, do you miss Mashrafi Murtaza?
Everyone does. Everyone
Everyone.
does right now. We actually even now we are playing with 10 figures, like
Yeah,
10
they don't
players.
touch.
Like
It's a joke.
Now we're playing with less than 10, if I'm being completely honest.
so, there could be an option for Masharin Murtuza, who could just come here and go. There's nothing to
Liton will
do.
bat
Like
at 3, and then Bangladesh will face the usual sort of scientist and
we
experiment.
should
Yeah,
get.
100%.
We should bring back Mashrafi to open with Tanzil Tamim.
And he'll do better.
Hundred
With on
percent
one leg, he'll do better.
guarantee. He won't even run. He'll bowl off one step and he'll bat for one leg.
actually,
Still
I
more
liked
better
his
than
bowling in last
Saifuddin and
BPL.
Mustafiz.
It was good. It was
Actually, in
really
last
good.
BPL,
Yeah.
I liked his bowling. Like those short run ups, nothing to do.
Yeah, he was.
Like stuff.
He got it. He hit the line and length perfectly because he had more control. He's been playing for 20 years, but then he doesn't have to put any effort into his run up. He's good to go as it is. Why not? He could make a great replacement for Mustafiz. Back of the hand cutters and slowers and whatnot.
Can we talk a bit more about how horrible Pakistan's preparation is coming into this World Cup and this whole issue with Azam
Nah,
Khan?
actually, every time Pakistan came for World Cup, they do be into the worst possible form. Still, they somehow manage to go finals, semi-finals, or beat some sort of big team out there. I
Worst
wouldn't be
team in
surprised.
Champions Trophy 2017. And we saw what
Like,
happened.
like what they did in Champions Trophy was like a fairy tale. Even this time, they do have India in their group. They could have beat them. Even if they beat, like there could be some sort of bubble reason magic another time they could have won against India much easily. But I do feel Pakistan got some sort of X factor in their side. The Azam Khan could be an X factor in this World Cup. So that's the Pakistan's legacy. They always have
Why do you
some those.
always select? Arhamar Bhai will always select the most out of pocket players for this X Factor thing, which I'll never get. He'll be like, Surya Kumar Yadav could be an X Factor in the World
Who
Test
did he
Championship final.
select? Who did he select? The dinosaur?
Yeah, X
Like
Factor.
Look,
Inzamam
look,
wasn't.
look. People call me Babar Azam in my team, so I know what it's like. But the thing is, he's not doing nothing for you. I can write it down on a piece of paper. He might
Like
score 30 odd in a couple of games. That's it. He won't
no,
get you
actually,
wickets
in
behind.
in you need 30 or in 10 balls. It could play a huge role in this World Cup.
I didn't say he would take 10 balls to score 30. I said he would score 30 for you. He might take
Total.
25, 40 balls.
Oh man.
He might score 30 across 4 games. You never know.
And
and he
make
might
that a duck
and he
against
might
India and all the other runs coming against Ireland, US, and Canada combined.
and he might score 50 more behind the wicket.
But
Look,
I
he's a
remember
But I
by
strong
always
guy.
England having this top order of Salt, Butler, Jacks, and Bairstow, all four a bit
Bairstow,
balanced.
you can
Very strong.
count Bairstow out. Bairstow is a joke at this point. But the
No,
other
no, no, no.
three,
You never count Bairstow out because these guys will never stop giving him chances, and he will
Bairstow will
see one game
Bairstow
to
will
perform.
get run
That's
out.
it.
He'll get run out again behind the wicket.
actually Bairstow is an X factor in this England side.
He's an actual X factor. I
Again,
agree
He
with that.
could be. He could
like
be. Yeah.
versus KKR, he chased 260 outs. Like it's nothing. They chase it like nothing. I feel like Bairstow is some sort of cricketer who gives you some edge on those days. Otherwise, Bairstow is kind of you won't expect
Hit or miss.
much
Very
about
hit
him,
or
but
miss.
but he will provide something. and somewhere in this, it's in this because it's a long tournament. You have to play 4 matches out there, then you have to again go for those
Bro,
rounds.
Aramer bhai, this is a very short tournament. IPL is 2 months. The group stage of the World T20 is 16 days. That's a quarter of the IPL.
Let's talk about one of the
Uh,
most interesting trios, which is in Group C. Afghanistan, New Zealand, West Indies. Which two do you see going through? Please do not say Uganda or PNG, please.
West Indies and New Zealand for
Yeah,
sure.
easy. West Indies,
Because
New Zealand. Afghanistan is a
Afghanistan
joke.
always do have some hype on their team, but they
Way
never
too much
perform.
hype.
But
Afghanistan
they
is
You know
all
never
what?
about the
perform.
knowledge.
I'm going to go the other way this time. I'm going to say that New Zealand are going to screw up somewhere, which they never do at the group stage level, but I feel like this time they will, and it'll be Afghanistan, West Indies.
For that,
Who
it
do you think they'll
requires
screw up
slowest
against?
of pitches.
Afghanistan.
I don't know, to be honest.
Afghanistan, unless the Gulbadin Nair raises her
Hmm.
with bat
He hit six sixes yesterday. I think Gulbadin Naib.
yesterday.
He had a very good start, though, opening the batting.
He's opening.
Yeah, he opened the other day.
Yeah, he and actually Gulbadin Nair used to open for Afghanistan. Used to
Open the bowling.
now opening the
He
batting
did both
for
at different
Afghanistan.
points in time.
He used to open the gym in the morning as well.
Okay, Fardin Kibria with his 10th grade prom
Okay,
profile picture.
not
What, what,
tenth grade. Oh, picture. Okay, yeah. No, no. My question is, bro, where did this guy disappear to? Rajibul Islam Rajib. I have been searching for him on Facebook for days. I cannot find him. Did he get
he's gone,
banished
he's
from
gone.
Bangladesh? Did he
No, no,
get
I feel bad for
executed?
him now.
No,
Did
I
something
don't.
happen? Like
Screw
that's
him.
scary, actually. No,
Oh
I
no, no,
don't
no.
feel
He
bad
went
about
to
the
the
fact that
World
he made a
Cup.
mistake,
He went
but
to the
if,
World Cup last year. He went to
oh,
the
okay,
World Cup last year. I saw him
then I don't feel
reported.
bad. Well, I don't feel bad.
Exactly. He's fine. He's just staying off the heat. But I want him to be found. And he needs to be beat up in public, in Shahabag. লুঙ্গি পরে ওরে মারতে হবে তাইলে মানুষ হবে এটা
No, I remember how did it get so viral? How did it get to Pakistan, India, everywhere else in the world? How?
even football,
You
some football team did it as well. I'm not sure if some football team did the same. One of the football teams came to Bangladesh to play a couple of weeks ago, and Ara Maksum Bhai jabe naki ami dekhi nahi. I saw Maksum Bhai putting up stories on Facebook the other day at his house. So some football team came to Bangladesh a couple of weeks ago and they beat Bangladesh, I think. And after the
Chinese
game,
Titan
they did the
maybe
same
probably.
thing. They did the same thing. Final amateur perform. What happening? I mean, bro,
Blame.
we need.
Give us
Oh,
the credit
really?
for that. Give us the
Exactly.
credit for that, man. Then I'll take it. Then I'll take it spreading even
We
more.
we
No problem.
deserve a special one-on-one podcast with this guy. We deserve a podcast and only us with Razibul Islam.
It's funny. We could have said we deserve a special one with Andre Russell, but no, we
Actually,
went
we
straight for
didn't
Razif
podcast
Islam.
with those.
We already
We
had a
didn't.
one-on-one with Andre Russell, so we've already crossed that.
Technically, yeah. Technically, we have.
There was an umpire, and there's a Bangladeshi umpire who were much more controversial this year. I just can't remember his name. He was in our podcast.
Tanvir.
Tanvi, yeah, Tanvi.
কেন তানভীর ভাই কি করছে? What
No,
is?
no. I remember Bhai is, I think, trying to say that someone who has been part of quite a few controversies. He was part of Bagher
Like
Adda.
his no balls against
Of
West
course.
Indies again and
Carlos
again.
Brathwaite was about to beat him, and he got
We-
credit to him. He actually confessed to that in the podcast. I didn't even ask him. He,
Look. Tanvir Bhai is to Bangladesh cricket what Mariah Erasmus is to Indian cricket, BCCI. And sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. You need your weaponry. You need to have what it takes to beat evil with your own evil. He's the hero.
Even
No, he's not the hero we deserved, but the hero we needed for Bangladesh cricket.
I'm sorry, not to get political, but this reminds me of a very random video. You remember Zelensky going on air and saying, "If you can't give us money, give us credit." This reminds me of that for some reason.
আমি এগুলো দেখি না, sorry.
Anyways,
But yeah, exactly.
that
We should be able to allow to speak to Dr. Azizul Islam, PhD.
He
Bhai, who
probably
is going
doesn't.
through from Group D? That is the main question. If no one's writing any team off from Group D, so who is
Who's
going
in
through?
Group D? Who's in Group D?
Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Netherlands, South Africa, Nepal.
Group of death. Perfect group of death.
Yeah, I was gonna say South
Everyone's out
Africa,
of
but
luck.
I was going to say South Africa until I was like, nope, no guarantees with South Africa.
No guarantees, and they just
Um,
lost 3-0. But
There's
whatever.
high
Not the
there's a
full
high
strength.
chance of rain during those matches actually. High
Okay,
chance
I was
of
gonna
rain.
say this. I was gonna say this. Screw ICC for arranging World Cups in the specific part of the year at that specific time where it's raining every single day, when there's a cyclone, tornado, Jahannamer Kiamat, lava flowing, earthquakes, eruptions, you name it, natural disaster, wherever it's happening, ICC is arranging the next World Cup there at that time.
Say it
Why?
louder, and they'll arrange another tournament in the UAE to avoid this
Wow.
problem.
Natural disaster happening, your World Cup putting. What happening?
Desert storm.
Right? These There's a hurricane, there was tornado, everything happening out there, and there was a World Cup.
And
I don't know
Bangladesh
who plans those.
and I think the Women's World Cup is happening in Bangladesh, and there's a cyclone in
Yeah,
Bangladesh right now.
It is what it is at this point. Amar bhai, why didn't you mark yourself safe during the cyclone? I was very worried about you. Alvi was crying the other day. He was very worried about you.
I was crying because Nannu marked himself safe.
Why? The man's not even selected anymore. Why are you still after his life? Why?
I am Riyasat Azim. Man, I miss Nazmul Sajid. He blocked me. I can't see his stuff anymore.
I don't think he
I've
posts.
forgotten about him.
I
He
never
doesn't.
followed him, so I don't know.
He'll post when
When he would
Pakistan
post.
wins.
Oh, probably. Which doesn't happen these days.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Even
Okay,
Naim
what
Sheikh
see,
is
other
out of
major
the
incidents? Okay, no one answered. Who is going through from Group D? Which two teams?
Sri
Bangladesh,
Lanka and
Bangladesh,
Bangladesh and
South
and
Africa.
South Africa. Actually, South Africa.
Khalas.
Because I feel like
I
Sri
hope
Lanka
some
doesn't have
Bangladesh still. Damn.
So when we get to the
actually.
Super Eights, are we playing a single league with everyone, or is this divided into two groups again?
Divided two groups. So we won't face whichever group team qualifies with us. Obviously, from Group D, we won't face them.
Will we face teams from, or we'll face
One
one
team
from
from
each
each
other
other
group?
group, we will know for sure once the qualification is over.
So we
Which
need to pray
actually
for
won't be.
other. There should be much more fuck up going on there, like in Canada, USA, or Ireland.
Let's hope
They
let's
should
hope
go.
Canada wins from their group and Ireland wins from theirs,
Nah,
and PNG win from
it's
theirs, so we can play
now
them.
it's gonna be a big chance for us. That first time a full member nation to lose against Canada in both ODI World Cup and T20 World Cup. Huge opportunity.
We have this amazing record of becoming the first team to lose to both Canada and US in
Then the
international cricket.
USA.
Full member nation, of
Nah,
course.
full member nation first. If you don't
Cricket is just a
if you
sport,
don't
man. Cricket is just a sport. Green card and PR card, they're the whole life changing things.
You know what the
What is
best
a
thing would
sport?
be if you saw suddenly all of our cricketers move to the US and play for the US within the next 2 3 years because they all got a green card after losing the series. I mean, like Shanto said, they said they would give us all a green card if we lost the first game, and then they said no, we won't until you lose the second game as well. So you never know.
Bangladesh will beat South Africa. You heard it here first. Will we be surprised? I mean, South
Thank
Africa is
God
the
I'm
champion,
no.
deaf
right?
and blind.
I think Kalastan is enough. Kalastan is enough for Bangladesh. There's no need any other options. Even Aiden Markham this would be enough for us.
Aiden Markram is in the worst form of his life. He won't do anything. Classes.
Nah,
The
He
main
will do
those
the
something
main
because worst form players always come to form against
against
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, right? And then you've got
yeah, those
Klassen, Rabada, Norkia, Keshav Maharaj, who we can't play after having played four left arm spinners a year for 20 years straight. We cannot play a left arm spinner.
they're gonna be Tabriz Shamsi as well.
And we have no idea
Another
how
left arm
left arm
spinner.
wrist spin even works. Like we used to
We
think
have
it's a
no
pin.
idea how wrist spin works. Forget left arm. That is no, that is an imagination in Bangladesh. First come to spin, wrist spin.
Just play Rishad as a batting all rounder at this point. Just do that.
Open with him. Open with him. You've got the answer staring at you in the face and you still won't do it. Why not?
I feel like Rishad could be more useful, like if you pluck him in somewhere in there in the middle, like 4 or 5, because he's actually really good against spin.
Watch out, Hasaranga, who also hit six sixes the other day.
No, but seriously, more of a final take on starting the World Cup. Not necessarily who will win or whatever, but a final take on starting the World Cup before we end today's show, and hopefully we'll be back at least half an hour before
Yeah, we'll
the
be back.
warm
We'll
up
be
match.
back in like 10 hours. We'll be back real soon. Not long. Just one more
Come on.
sleep. Um, Look, I think this World Cup is going to be very. I feel like they're gonna try hard to make it seem very American with all this, basketball, baseball, all this stuff, and it's just gonna be an awkward combination. I feel like I don't know, but if yesterday's photo shoot was anything to go by, they're gonna try and shove more America into the World Cup than the World Cup into America. Ar haram bhai,
Remember, bhai, the last time
lokaya
West
gেছেন?
Indies hosted a T20 World Cup, it was also, not the most hyped tournament, given that it was just before the FIFA World Cup, so that didn't help.
Was that the inaugural T20 World Cup?
No, 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 no. That was the
No, no.
third season. The inaugural one got a lot of hype, by the way.
No, no,
That
no.
one actually was
Where
a good
was the
tournament.
inaugural one hosted? South Africa?
South Africa. South Africa, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like this World Cup will be much more game changer in a sense. But end of the day, if ICC doesn't make enough money, they're gonna scrap it out and once more. They just want
It,
money, nothing else. They
it
want
depends on
revenues.
how they look at money because I know for a fact that they've already made a lot of money just from the India Pakistan game in New York, just from that one game. And there are other cash grab games in the US as well. But outside of that, if they're actually hoping for any money from, let's say, the Uganda PNG game, then no, they're not going to have anything. So let's see. Let's see how it all goes.
Let's see how it goes and how they're gonna treat those FCS after this World Cup.
That's a very good point. Regardless of what their results are or how they play, that's actually a very good
Like,
point.
like, because after the in between this World Cup, there are gonna be global T20 qualifier. Can you imagine? There's even Joe Barnes gonna play for Italy this
Italy.
T20 World Cup qualifier. So it's kind of messed up situation for ICC right now.
Anyways, Avi, Armor Bhai, thank you very much. Hope to see you guys soon. And hoping for a good actual day one of the T20 World Cup. We'll hopefully be back soon.
Day one starts from 6:30 a.m. in Asia.
Adur.
Good time for us, but let's see how it goes.
Okay.
All right, everyone.
Yes.
That's a wrap.
Shivaratri.
Goodbye.